Sebastian here for another comic impactful origin, and this week we're talking about the man who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of all men. The Shadow. The Shadow has a very long and complicated origin, more so than a lot of other superheroes out there. But we're going to break it down for you, and it starts at the beginning, in 1930, where he first appeared on the radio as the narrator for a radio show called the Detective Story Hour, which is a series of anthologies. Originally suggested by Harry Charlotte, this enigmatic figure became very popular very quickly. The audience wanted to know, who was this guy? Who was the Shadow? Why did he have this omniscience? So, Condé Nast and Street and Smith, actually Condé Nast are the owners of Reddit and of course Wired magazine, so they're still around even today, commissioned Walter B. Gibson to give a background to this figure, to expand on an origin more so than just a voiceless, faceless narrator. And of course, that's when he made his appearance in print in The Living Shadow in 1931, a year later. As the radio show continued on, and as the comics continued on in parallel, the comics grew in popularity in a lot of the pulp magazines, and of course in its comic strip formats, where we have our hero, the Shadow, fighting crime. So in 1935, the radio show was eventually retooled to be the focus for the Shadow in its entirety. And of course, many people over the years have played the Shadow. Most notably, Orson Welles was one of the Shadows. And also Alec Baldwin in a movie. So popular people have played the Shadow, and he's a very long-running character, and he's a long comic history and a long history outside of radio. So, let's move on to his comic origins, at least as originally written by Walter Gibson and, of course, smashed in for the radio show. He was a World War I pilot, and while traveling through East Asia, gained the ability to cloud men's minds, and of course became a master of hypnotism. He took these newfound abilities from the Far East, and of course, he decided to take on this new thing for America, urban crime, back at his home in New York City. His alter ego in the comics, Kent Allard, eventually grew from there and molded and merged with another character, Lamont Cranston. Lamont Cranston being the most popular version of the character. Was originally a separate character, a wealthy man about town who Kent actually bullied into giving him his identity while he was transversing the globe. So while Lamont Cranston was away overseas doing what wealthy men at the time did, Kent Allard could hide in the identity of Lamont Cranston, easily moving and protecting not only his true identity, but being able to have a bit of a scapegoat in that same way. Eventually, for the radio show, they decided to cut out Kent Allen and just merge the two characters into Lamont Cranston, giving us that businessman, wealthy entrepreneur, and secret Avenger type that eventually became one of the prototypes for Batman. Zorro, also known as Don Diego de la Vega, protecting the good people of the Pueblo of Los Angeles in California. But he's another character we'll be talking about eventually. Now that we have the basic origin for the character, and of course one of the prototypes for the Dark Detective, the Dark Knight, the Batman, let's talk about some of the places that he's been featured. Of course, he had his radio show, most notably played by Orson Welles for a few years. He also has had many serials and television shows. He had his own movie in 1994 with Alec Baldwin, and of course, his comic appearances are numerous. Not only did he have his own comic strips, but he made his appearance in DC Comics with art done by greats like Bill Sienkiewicz. He also appeared in Kingdom Come. And many people don't know that he's actually alongside characters like Rorschach in The Question in a bar scene there. He also appeared in Marvel Comics for a short time. He was over at Dark Horse for a little while. And in the modern day, Garth Ennis took over the role, bringing him back in a 6-issue miniseries for Dynamite Comics. He's got a long and great history. He's an absolutely amazing character. He's not only a character of his time, but he's a great character to look back at. And also in his modern appearances is a character that still stays very strong. And I do recommend books like his DC appearances. His appearance in The Rocketeer also is another great book. And we'll cover old Cliff Secord in a little while too, and that's for another show. And of course, his series at Dynamite. What can I say about Garth Ennis's mini-series? It's actually absolutely interesting. He stays away from making Lamont Cranston the Shadow until the very end of the book. It covers a lot of his origins. It's absolutely fantastic. I say go check it out. Thanks for watching this video, and if you like this video and want to see more, and you want to give me some ideas for some characters to cover, this one's probably a bit longer than some of the other ones, as his origin is a little more complicated than others. But hey, shoot me a message, give us a like here, hit the subscribe button, and find us on social media. We got the Facebook, we got the Twitter, we got the Instagram. I'm talking like an old man now, but hey, that's okay. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next week.